Today I'm joined by Scott Ayres. Scott loves busting myths about social media marketing at the Social Media Lab, even if that means going against what he was taught in the past. And he does it all while looking like Beaker from the Muppets, if you don't mind me saying. When you see Scott on social media, he's very active and he wears this bright orange wig and like a lab coat. And I thought, wow, that's unusual. And then I thought that's instant branding. And we're going to talk to Scott about that. Welcome to the show, Scott.
Appreciate you having me on. Yeah, and Beaker, when I was a kid, Beaker was one of my favorite Muppets.
Me too. So,
yeah, I like embedding, a podcast on every blog that I can, because that, again, if I can pique your attention and get you to hit play and you stay there for a couple of minutes, for one, I'll get the download over to my stats for the podcast, but that time on site just kicks in and makes it more authoritative. If someone's bouncing within like 5 seconds, that hurts you, but if they stay for a couple of minutes, that you get rewarded for that down the road. So it's always smart to do that, as long as that content's related.
The pattern interrupt, that really is something that interests me. And I just finished writing a book about very similar type of thing about getting people's attention, and it's purely surface level attention,
right? And
then you build authority and you provide the value. But I think a lot of people neglect that real eye candy attention thing. Like, you've got the orange hair and you've got on your blog, there's just all sorts of color, and there's videos there with thumbnails, and there's and then you get people in, and then you deliver your content that way. And
yeah, as far as the pattern interrupt, it is something that if you look at YouTube, for example, most videos get viewed on YouTube because someone saw the thumbnail and it was enticing enough to tap on it, click on it, and watch it. The thumbnails are always so important for your blog posts and for your social media posts, whatever it's at. So anything you can do that looks different, stands out, dare we say, controversial or just weird. We're focused on what you might call pillar pieces. I don't know if you've heard that term before, but writing one big piece that's just massive about a subject, and then having all these tiny little pieces that are pointing back to it, and then that big one's pointing back to the little ones, and Google really likes that.
So how are they pointing? Like, how are the little pieces pointing to the big piece?
Just backlinks back over to it.
In the same site?
Yeah, yeah. And Google likes that. The spiders crawl it, and they go, oh, cool. There's another article that's referencing this. And there's some timing in that you've got to figure out and see, and make sure you're not doing. If you did it all at one time, it probably wouldn't help. So you got to span it out over, a few months or whatever. But we've seen some really good success in those pillar pieces, and a lot of people are seeing that makes more sense. Like, we backlink to ourselves a lot on our own blog, on website, because especially on a really high performing post, put some good backlinks to your newer content. Like an old blog post. My most traffic blog post for the lab is about how to get 100 followers or 1,000 followers in 24 hours or something like that. And it's years old. It's like 3 years old or so, 3 or 4. But I'm constantly going into it and linking to new posts related to Instagram, because I know Google's going to see, hey, you're linking this really high performing post is linking to this one. It must be good as well. So that's something to kind of go back in your content and play around with. Like, when I think about the most questions and also the most hate email, it's typically Instagram. Because we had one big one, for example, that was testing the theory of should you put your hashtags in the comments or put it in the original post. There's a lot of people who've been telling everybody for years that you should always put it in the first comment. That way, it kind of hides it, in the on the post itself, and you don't. People are like, it doesn't look as ugly. Yeah. There's a lot of big marketers in the social space have been teaching that. So when I tested that, and come to find out, I got I think it ended up being 29% higher reach on my Instagram post when I left the hashtags in the original post, and instead of stuffing them into the comments.